And folks, we're talking about the Bible. We're talking about how the Bible got to be the Bible. We're talking about the manuscripts, and it's an interesting thought because, Jim, one of the things that you were saying is, there are absolutely errors in manuscripts, and it's not the kind of thing where you're having to defend every syllable of every word as the understanding of the inspired Word of God. And we're going to get into that a little further. But you have something here about the rules for determining original text?
Yes, Kurt and Barbara Ahlant, writing in German, wrote a book that's translated into English, The Text of the New Testament, 1993 edition. They suggest 12 basic rules for textual criticism. I'll abbreviate them and amend them here. Only one reading can be original, however many variant readings may exist. Criticism of the text must always begin from the evidence of the manuscript tradition, and only afterward turn to a consideration of internal criteria. Internal criteria, the context of the passage, its style and vocabulary, the theological environment of the author or of the critic, etc., must never be the sole basis for a critical decision, especially in opposition to the external manuscript evidence. Internal criteria were the prime considerations of the now discredited 19th century school of higher criticism. The primary authority for critical textual decision lies with the Greek manuscript tradition, with the versions and fathers serving no more than a supplementary and corroborative function, particularly in passages where their underlying Greek text cannot be reconstructed with absolute certainty. Manuscripts should be weighted, not counted, and peculiar traits of each manuscript should be duly considered. The supposed principle that the original reading may be found in any single manuscript, like the Vatican 1209 or Sinaitic, or version, like the Vulgate or Septuagint in the Old Testament, when it stands alone or nearly alone, is only a hypothetical concept. It will only confirm the view of the text which it presupposes. There is some truth in the maxim, the more difficult reading is the more probable reading, but this principle must not be taken too mechanically. The venerable maximum, the shorter reading is the more probable reading, is certainly right in many instances, but here again the principle must not be applied mechanically.
Okay, so what I get out of that, some I understood, some I didn't, I'll admit it, but is there's a detailed process in determining how much of what manuscript to use.
That's right.
Well,
yes.
Rick, we have a call waiting.
All right, actually, why don't we take the call right now, and then we'll get back to this.
Welcome to Christian Questions. This is Jonathan and Rick and company. Who are we speaking with?
Gentlemen, good morning. This is Julius.
Good morning.
Good morning, Len and Jim.
Good morning.
I can hardly hear you. Just a couple of points here. Number one, I appreciate the dedication, the scholarly approach by your two gentlemen, Len and Jim, Rick.
Yes.
And one key point is that the Bible was not written for the skeptic or the casual observer. Also, I believe in its integrity and authenticity, merely on its sheer preservation, how God has preserved it throughout the ages, and it has had many enemies, and the Bible has outlived all of them. It is the book for today, and it is the book for the future. Thanks for sharing. God bless.
Thank you, Julius. We appreciate your call.
Good day. Bye-bye.
All right, and again, thank you, Julius, for participating there. And that's an interesting point. Julius says that the Bible has had many enemies. Throughout history, the Bible has been a target in a lot of different cases, hasn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, and probably the people that held that Bible or tried to bring it into existence so that common people could read. People like Wycliffe and others, suffered great persecution as they tried to make the Bible available to everyone. Sometimes by the scholars that didn't want everyone to read it.
All right. And that's another very fascinating point of history, is to go through and look at how often there were Bible burnings and just the idea of trying to wipe it away and not give it to the average, regular, everyday person for their benefit. Jim, again, getting back to the manuscript thing, we have these specific manuscripts, and you said there's over what? How many?
3,300.
About 3,300 different manuscripts. Obviously, they're not all complete, and some of them are fragments. But you've got these 3,300 different pieces of information that essentially contribute to what we know as the Bible. What are some of the older ones, and how do they fit into some of the more complete manuscripts? And is it kind of a rule of thumb, the older the better sort of thing?
As a rule of thumb, yes. Can't do it rigorously like today. If you were copying and a fellow on the other part of the country were copying and on the other side of the world were copying, some of us are going to be much more careful about preserving the things honestly, and others will sort of paraphrase as they go along.
Yeah, and let me just interject. One of the points in that Misquoting Jesus book is that early Christian scribes were not professional scribes. They were just sort of saying, okay, you can write here, copy this, and that's where this author is saying so many of these errors came in, because they didn't have the professionalism, if you will, to write like a copy machine.
Hey, we have some, not very many, but maybe one or two manuscripts that would appear to be schoolboy exercises.
Okay. But you said there's not a lot.
I think only one or two. I could hunt it up if I had to, but I don't need to right now. I think there's one from the beginning of Romans.